Tomorrow will mark 1 month since the deadly stabbing at a track meet in Frisco. And right now, Karmelo Anthony is accused in the stabbing death of Austin Metcalf. And the case has led to heightened concerns in the community. Some parents called on Frisco ISD to improve security. And some people questioned the motivations of a rally centered on race. Our media partners at Texas Monthly have also been taking a look at this case. Robert Downen is joining us tonight. Texas Monthly, Robert, was able to talk to someone who tracks domestic extremist groups. What were they able to tell you about the reactions to this case that was seen online?
Yeah, what they told me was that there was a flurry of activity in the immediate aftermath of the killing, including, on the online forum 4chan, which is has a known history of radicalizing people towards violence. And on those sites, they saw people, calling for arson attacks at the house of the judge who oversaw Anthony's bond hearing. There were, real vile, explicitly racist slurs being used. And then on Twitter, we saw a number of users with large platforms really just rushing before there was any kind of information about the case to turn this into an issue of race, and in despite of what Austin Metcalf's dad has really pleaded for. Now, the group that I talked to, Moonshot, observes online extremist activity exclusively, and said that they saw as much activity in the wake of Metcalf's death as they did into the New York City subway station choking, which they found pretty surprising given the size of New York City and the size of the media market there compared to, say, Frisco. Well,
CBS Texas has dug into the background of a man who organized a protest last month, Jake Lang. He was charged in the January 6 riots at the U.S. Capitol. He was pardoned by President Donald Trump, and Lang recently announced that he is running for U.S. Senate in Florida. Now, Texas Monthly, as we understand it, also looked into Lang and another man's background, Philip Anderson, who was with Lang at a rally. What did you see at the rally, and what did you learn about both of those men and their motive for visiting Frisco?
Since being pardoned, they've really made this whole idea of a black crime epidemic They're, really the thing that they're harping on. And at this rally, which again, I do want to just reiterate, it was very poorly attended. I think media, counter-protesters, and police probably made up at least half of the people there. But the people there, many of them were overtly fascist. There were people sig-heiling across the streets. There was a man wearing a sweatshirt proclaiming himself a skinhead, and some people that I talked to who, really had some just openly anti-Semitic and racist views. And that rally, I think, was really important for us to be at least, because while it was sparsely attended and while it was widely condemned by people in the Frisco community and elsewhere, I think it really was indicative of what we've seen online in response to Metcalf's killing.
And as you've reported, Frisco ISD, they're pursuing trespassing charges against Lang after breaking into the stadium where Metcalf died. With so much rhetoric fueling emotions around this case, what are the people who actually live in Frisco saying to you about this case? I'm curious.
Sure. And, it is a town of 200,000 people. So I do want to be clear that these people don't speak for all of Frisco. But overwhelmingly, the people I've talked to have been saying, that their community is grieving. The Frisco mayor definitely articulated that to me, but also that they are waiting for more details in this case. They are waiting for the legal process to play out, unlike the kind of discourse that we're seeing online, really. And, a lot of the people, again, including Metcalf's father and the Anthony family, have really been outspoken about this desire by people who don't live in the community to really affect what is happening on the ground in ways that are really having tangible effects on the people there. So I would say that Frisco is, from the people I've spoken to, grieving, but also keeping a relatively calm head about this and not trying to give in to the narratives that are playing out on online spaces.
Robert Downen, we thank you so much for joining us tonight to discuss this developing story. And of course, you can read his full article. It's on TexasMonthly.com. We'll be right back.